Acknowledge that sometimes we have made such calculations in the past, but I say that is a false choice. As recent events have confirmed, denying people their basic rights does not preserve stability. In fact, it does the reverse.
In 2008, Italy agreed to pay $5 billion to its former colony Libya in reparations, and that opened the door to numerous deals. And now Berlusconi's attempts to befriend Gaddafi and his regime could be backfiring. And as Banu Batnagar reports, Italy isn't the only country caught up with investments in Libya.
What does the Juventus Football Club, Italy's biggest bank and the country's biggest oil company have in common? All have a Libyan connection. After the oil-rich country renounced weapons of mass destruction in 2003, it's been the darling of the West, managing to secure multi-billion-dollar deals, make investments right around the world, even secure the early release of the convicted Lockerbie bomber. Now, from Washington to London to Rome, it all seems a bit premature, and Libya's former colonial overlord Italy stands to lose the most. The Libyan Foreign Investment Fund owns 7.5% of Juventus, one of the world's most successful football teams. Libya is the largest shareholder in Italy's biggest bank, UniCredit. The Libyan central bank governor is also UniCredit's vice president. Then there's the Italian oil company Eni, which has been drilling in Libya since 1959, longer than Gaddafi has been in power. Italy relies on Libya for a quarter of its crude oil. And 2% of Italy's biggest defense and security firm, Finmeccanica, is also owned by Libya. Italy's Silvio Berlusconi and Muammar Gaddafi signed a 2008 friendship treaty in which their two countries promised billions of dollars in mutual investments and a promise from Gaddafi to curb illegal immigration. Since then, Libyan and Italian interests have become more entrenched, and now at a time of uncertainty in Libya, concern is mounting in many boardrooms. But Italy isn't alone. Gaddafi's overtures with the outside world stretch far beyond the Mediterranean. Take a look at this list of all the known companies and the countries where they're based with significant oil deals in Libya. They all stand much to lose as the situation there deteriorates.
I assure you that American oil companies and British as well as Italian are involved in Libya, and they signed contracts in the last 2 years.
Relations with the UK improved back in 2004. As then Prime Minister Tony Blair shook hands with Gaddafi, Anglo-Dutch oil giant Shell signed a multi-million-dollar gas exploration deal off the Libyan coast. Fast forward a few years and British defence companies were allowed to sell projectile launchers and crowd control ammunition to Libya. Now though, facing scrutiny over the possibility British weapons could be used against the Libyan people, the government has cancelled at least 8 arms export licences. And while the US has been critical of Britain cozying up to Gaddafi's regime, Washington has allowed firms to quietly conduct business as usual. In 2007, US firm Occidental signed a deal to spend $5 billion over 5 years developing oil production.
The ex-Prime Minister of Britain, Mr. Blair, visited Gaddafi 3 or 4 years ago, and they reached an understanding. After which we heard that the Libyan who was imprisoned in Scotland has been released. Of course, the Americans didn't like that, and consequently they thought that the release of the Libyan prisoner was due to an understanding about granting British companies some more concessions, oil concessions in Libya. That's why the focus of attention was on Britain. But remember that the Americans are up to their neck in their involvement in Libya.
Libya's wealth and Gaddafi's family have become irreversibly entangled in the global economy. What happens in that country and to the regime will have reverberations right across the world. Banu Bhatnagar for Counting the Cost.
Well, joining me now from Rome is Maurizio Caprara, diplomatic correspondent for the Italian daily Corriere della Sera. Maurizio, thanks for being with us. Have the chickens come home to roost here for Italy? Is it paying the price for years of getting friendly with a regime that many people say is now showing its true colours?
Obviously, relationships are a problem now with Libya in this moment, and Italy Italian Prime Minister Silvio Berlusconi signed in 2008 in Benghazi a friendship treaty with Muammar al-Gaddafi that joined efforts, Italian efforts and Libyan efforts for developing a lot of activities. And the decision was that Italy has to give $5 billion in 20 years for infrastructures and social activities and so on in Libya. And now, obviously, there is a great problem at this moment.
And what about the personal relationship between Berlusconi and Gaddafi? They're both leaders who, some would say, have an eccentric side to their personalities. But how is that personal relationship between the two of them? What kind of a role has that played in cementing some of these deals?
The relationships improved a lot. When Mr. Gaddafi came in 2009 in Italy for his first official visit, Berlusconi was suffering a terrible pain at the back, and Gaddafi desired to have him or Giorgio Napolitano to go at the airport for the first greetings. And Berlusconi had a terrible pain, and he was trying to avoid also to go there. But we know by WikiLeaks revelations that Gaddafi told to the Italian authorities, if no prime minister or president of the republic are here, I won't go in Rome. And by WikiLeaks reports, we know that Berlusconi took some cortisone and went to the airport. So it's not an easy relationship, but it's obviously the best one that Muammar al-Gaddafi have had with European prime ministers.
And as far as the companies that are involved here, are they, the Italian companies, are they tied to Libyan investment groups, or are some of them tied to the Gaddafi family's personal fortune?
Of international financial crisis in 2008 and the increase of the prices of oil in 2007 and 2006 made a particular effect, that Western countries needed cash flow and Libya had a lot of it. And so now Libyan companies are stakeholders of some Italian companies, important and also strategic, as Finmeccanica, and that produces defense systems, and Unicredit, which is an important bank, and more than one. They are a lot. And now, obviously, everyone is asking who will be, if there will be, a next leader in Libya, and what will go on. But obviously, this kind of relationships, for example, about the energy supply, Italy buys in Libya more of 1/3 of the energy that the country needs, will be continuous in the future. I mean, there is a stop now. Eni, Italian company, suspended the flow of energy yesterday for the technical risks that there are with the clashes going on. But usually also when a regime changes, this energy connection survive. Maybe something can change in the prices, in the agreement, but there is a strong relationships. There are strong relationships between Italy and whole Arab countries that have an ancient origin.
There is, of course, the fear of what the Italian Interior Minister is calling a catastrophic humanitarian crisis. He's saying that up to 300,000 migrants could head to Europe's shores from Libya. How real is that fear?
At present, from Tunisia, when there was a change of government, we had, since the February the 7th, I think 6,000 people that came with boats in Lampedusa and Pantelleria, two small islands in the southern part of Italy. It's difficult to know how many people will arrive here. Obviously, there is the risk of a danger, and I think there is a huge risk of a danger, not just for Italy, but for Tunisia and for Egypt, if the migration goes east and west is not easier than if it goes to north, for countries that have political problems in this moment. Italy is asking to the European Union to share the burden of this wave of migration that is possible, and now discussions are going on about who have to pay for what and when.
Good to talk to you, Maurizio Caprara in Rome. Many thanks for your thoughts. Muammar Gaddafi's sons are an integral part of his power structure. Perhaps the most prominent is Saif al-Islam. Many in the West came to see him as a reforming influence, but his dramatic appearance on Libyan television on Sunday night defending his father shattered many illusions. Barnaby Phillips reports now from London.
He was the charming face of the Gaddafi regime, a man who loved art.
This kind of painting was the beginning of my journey with colors.
A man who wooed the world with talk of reform and the promise of access to Libya's wealth. So Saif al-Islam's rambling televised speech came as a shock to those foreign admirers. He said drug addicts, foreigners and Islamists were plotting against his father, who would fight to the last bullet. This is the London School of Economics, the LSE. Saif studied here. His charity has given it money. But academics who knew and liked him are now appalled by his speech in support of a brutal regime.
Here was a man, I think, under huge stress and personal circumstances, now torn apart by this tension between, on the one hand, loyalty to his father and family, and on the other hand, the reform of his country. This was almost a tragedy of Shakespearean proportions being played out in front of us. And when he came to make his final judgment, he made the wrong one.
This is the library at LSE, and inside we managed to find a copy of Saif al-Islam's doctoral dissertation, which he submitted in 2008, more than 400 pages long. It's entitled "The Role of Civil Society in the Democratization of Global Governance Institutions." Let me just show you a highlight or two. He talks about the problems of citizens who live in undemocratic states where governments are authoritarian, abusive, and unrepresentative of their people's real interests. This man has tracked Saif's financial dealings, in particular his role in setting up a fund called the Libyan Investment Authority.
It's now worth about $150 billion, and